Vincent, can we just ask your thoughts going into tomorrow's game? It's the third time in 4 seasons you've been drawn against Bayern. What are your thoughts ahead of the game?
Yeah, it's a place we're becoming familiar with. I mean, every single time you come here is, you know, an opportunity to prove yourself. We take it as a challenge. You know, one of the top 3 clubs in the world at the moment. So there's probably not many hardest places to come to. But at the same time, you know, I think it's time for us to, you know, to start making those games close and eventually, you know, make up the gap between us and maybe those top 3 clubs.
Hello. Pep Guardiola said he thinks Manchester City are one of 8 or 9 clubs that can realistically think in terms of winning the Champions League. Is that perhaps something that wouldn't have been said a year or 2 back, but with your extra experience now?
It didn't take a massive risk, did it? 8 clubs, yeah. Well, it's... Do you know what? You start a competition and every year you start, it's an opportunity. And that's enough for now. It's an opportunity for us, but step by step, I think it's a good thing to start with the motivation to go to the end, but at the same time, it's only the first game. So let's see how this plays out, and ultimately, you know, if we get through this group, all right, then you know we'll grow in strength as well. So.
You did win here last year. If you were to repeat that tomorrow, how far do you think that would go towards you being able to take charge of this group if you were to win here in Munich?
It's an important game in that sense. We've seen how much damage it can cause to your hopes or how difficult your ambitions can become if you don't finish top of the group. It's a situation we have to deal with at the moment, that we're always going to face very strong teams in the group as long as we're not seeded, I guess. But at the same time, it was very close last year. I mean, it was just a goal, and you know we might have been top of the group, and that was the difference between playing Barcelona in the next round or, you know, a team that was more, you know, that was easier for us to defeat. But at the same time, it's good that those games are happening. It's the Champions League. And everyone's excited, but we believe in our ability as well.
Vincent, you've won the FA Cup at City, the League Cup, the Premier League. Are you going to get to the point where this team has to win the Champions League to make you feel as though you've set everything you could win and you've set yourself as legends at the club?
Well, you know, you start a season at Man City nowadays, and it's, you know, it's not acceptable to not put all the trophies on your ambitions list. So it's the case for me, it's the case for every player at the club. We start the season and we say, okay, you know, we look at all the trophies that we have to play and compete for, and we say we need to go till the end. Might not be realistic, but that's what we set out to do.
Just on that point, and your earlier point about it's time for us to start making up the gap, this team is actually quite a mature team. You've got a lot of players in the late 20s and sort of early 30s. Do you think because of that you really have to make the most of the now? It's a team that's built to win now.
I mean, the club is asking us to win now. So you know, that's one thing I can confirm. But in which order, you can't say. We have won so far. Definitely in the last 4 years we have been successful, but you always want to take it one step further, and I reckon for us there's still a lot of progression to make in the Champions League. You know, let's put everything back into context as well. We are not favourites by any means for this competition, but we'd like to at least compete and challenge, like we've done with the Premier League when we just started winning again. And before we won the league, it was about as difficult to believe that we would do it, probably more difficult even to believe that we would do it than with the Champions League. Now my experience is not that the Champions League is necessarily more difficult to go to the end because it's less games, but everything needs to be perfect. You know, the Premier League is just a ferocious battle until end of May sometimes, and it's a completely different ball game. But you know, we believe in it. Eventually, it'll happen our way.
In here, and then in here. Vincent, how long before players like yourself, Sergio, David Silva, the real kind of spine of this team, how long would it take before you started to get a little bit unsettled if you didn't get to a Champions League final at least? Well,
the beauty about every season is that you can try again, and you know, there's no sign that we are going. You know, we've always showed sign of actually going stronger and better. So I guess that's all you can ask for in football. I don't think that any player right now at any club starts with a guarantee of going to the final. And it's only one team who wins it every year. You can be in a semi-final, final. You can do whatever you want, but you know, ultimately last year it's only Real Madrid who won it, and all the rest lost like we did. So the margins are very small, but you know, I've believed since, you know, the first time I came at this club that this club could achieve great things, and I keep believing it.
Vinny, last season the win here in the Champions League didn't mean anything in terms of the Champions League, but do you think it gave you something as a club in terms of confidence and belief, and that helped you to win the Premier League maybe? Yeah, I actually reckon it meant a lot. You know, having said that, we were just one goal away from actually topping the group, so it was a very important game, and to win it, you know, was for us something that gave us definitely more belief to carry on and perform throughout the season. As well, you have to remember that at the time we weren't really performing well away from home, so to win here in Bayern Munich, I think it's probably defined our season afterwards, because we went from struggling away from home to becoming probably the best team away from the Etihad for the rest of the season. So this is the kind of impact that a game like this can have.
Last two questions, Carrie and then Jamie Danny.
Vincent, do you believe your team are now getting into their stride? A couple of mixed results as you recovered from the World Cup, Bayern Munich having the same problems, but a strong performance against Liverpool and some great instinctive play against Arsenal, even if you didn't get the win. And what a loss will it be not to have Zabaleta tomorrow? Yeah, I think we've showed signs of being a team that's, you know, capable definitely to compete again. But it was always going to be a little bit awkward. Players came back at different times. I mean, for many players, the game at Newcastle, which was a Premier League game, was the first game of this season, no pre-season at all. So I think therefore it's difficult to predict what's going to happen tomorrow, and it's difficult to take conclusions as well out of a game like tomorrow. But I mean, what I can tell you is that as we move on, we will get stronger, and the same will be for Bayern Munich as well. But it's a good test now anyway, and of course Zabaleta has been very important for us in recent seasons, but our strength has to remain the fact that we have so many players for every position.
Vincent, given the players and experience you have, would not reaching the semi-finals, would that be considered a failure, do you think, given that, you know, the very good players you have, how battle-hardened you are, etc., etc.?
It's, you know what, I always say the same, there's only one winner, all the rest are losers. So semi-final, final, you know, second place, you know, anything after first place is the same for me.